The next Community Day has finally been announced. Sunday, June 9th, we have a big one. Let's take a look at the teaser video Niantic just posted. Behind the tree, we see a little guy here. That's right, that's a Goomy. Goomy is a big one. A lot of people were expecting a Dragon-type Community Day to be coming out in June. It's kind of been the trend, right? Some sort of pseudo-legendary generally seems to happen around now, and Goomy happens to be the choice for us this time. This is a very exciting choice, especially for PvP players, because Goomy is already a Pokemon that's seen some success in the Play Pokemon and GBL circuits. I personally am also incredibly excited that the Shiny is going to be so much more common now. I never got a Shiny the last year having Goomy around, so it's going to be nice to get that finally. Not only that, the special thing about Goomy is there's not just one Goomy, or should I say Goodra, there's two Goodras. There's a Hisuian variant that has not yet been released into Pokemon Go. We saw during the Wooper Community Day that Niantic is fine releasing regional variants during these Community Day events, and I think that this would be a perfect time for Niantic to release Hisuian Goodra, which is another Pokemon that we'll take a look at here in just a second. So I think the first thing that we're going to be asking ourselves is, what kind of move could Goodra actually learn? And well, there's a lot of options here. I was looking it over, and honestly, Goodra's move pool is kinda crazy. Let's take a look at it. So here we can see Goodra. There's even the Hisuian variant. We'll go over that in just a bit. But this move pool is absolutely massive. Access to Grass-type, Dragon-type, Water-type, Ghost, Ground, Electric, Fire. The coverage is all over the place. I'd say some highlights here. We already have Power Whip, right? And Muddy Water, I believe, is already a move that Goodra has. But, Body Slam, that's an incredible move. You can also see access to Charm, which would be kind of funny. A Dragon type with Charm is a bit more of a novelty than anything, but it's an option, I guess. Bulldoze, not the best move currently, but Bulldoze, maybe it'll get buffed eventually. Mudshot, another fast attack that could be interesting. Dragon Tail wouldn't be as useful, because Goodra already has Dragon Breath. We can see the elemental punches here, Fire Punch and Thunder Punch. I don't know if Ice Punch is on here. I'm not seeing it, so it's just going to be Fire Punch and Thunder Punch, which are both actually kind of interesting coverage moves for it to get. If it got either one of those, it would be much better into Skarmory. I think that Skarmory is the premier anti-Dragon type Pokemon right now. Dragon Claw, that's a pretty classic one you could give it. It's very good coverage, it's stab, it's a decent move. Dragon Claw could work out. Body Press, a move that's not in Pokemon Go just yet, but this could be an interesting fighting type option down the line. Rock Slide could be cool. A rock-type coverage move on a dragon I don't think is a thing that we really have yet in Pokemon Go. But look at all these strong moves they have. Surf, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Fire Blast, Hydro Pump, Blizzard, Sludge Bomb, Earthquake. Just check all these out. Focus Blast, Outrage. It has access to basically every single move you could ask for. I don't know personally what move it's going to get, but I feel like any of these moves could be a good choice. I think that Thunder Punch or Fire Punch could potentially be interesting. Maybe going for a harder hitting move like Flamethrower or Thunderbolt could be maybe even better. I haven't looked at it just yet myself. We'll be going over what these different moves could look like on it in just a second. But there's a lot of options. Goodra has such a wide variety of moves that it learns. This is very exciting. I can't wait to see when the moveset is going to be revealed. Goodra, as I said, it's already a good pick in PvP. This could just put it over the top and make it actually a meta-relevant Pokemon that's not just kind of a fringe anti-meta pick. Another thing that we can look at here is Hisuian Goodra. Hisuian Goodra, not yet in the game, but it is a Steel Dragon type. If you know that typing, you know it from Master League. Dialga is everywhere. It's basically the Dragon type that can beat all other Dragon types. In the Great League, however, you do have to worry about some things that Dialga and Master League doesn't really have to. There's a lot of fighting types, right? Annihilate's everywhere. Whiscash as well is a very, very potent Pokemon, and being super effective against Steel type could actually be almost detrimental here for Goodra. But Steel Dragon, that's a very interesting typing. It's also a dragon that isn't necessarily weak to ice types. So while you do add the weaknesses to ground and fighting, you kind of nullify the dragon, fairy, and ice weaknesses. So we can take a look at what the moveset of Hisuian Goodra could look like as well. We don't know for sure if it's going to come out with this Community Day, but if it is, let's see what it looks like. So the moveset here for Hisuian Goodra, so far it does look pretty similar to regular Goodra, right? Dragon Breath, Aqua Tail down here. Not seeing Power Whip, so it probably would have something different there. But like Iron Head, Heavy Slam, we actually have some Steel-type coverage moves, which could hit back against the ices, hit back against the fairies. So that's kind of interesting. Looks like we have a lot of different coverage moves, just like regular Goodra. Rock Tomb's kind of cool. Dragon Claw again, Rock Slide, Body Press, Flash Cannon, Iron Head. A lot of interesting moves. Fire, Ice, Electric moves down here. Earthquake. Yeah, just so many different moves that it could actually choose from here. Hisuian Goodra really does have just kind of an open slate. It could be really good, it could be really bad, it depends on what moveset it gets, but it has the potential, at least in my opinion, to be something very, very strong. So let's take a look on paper at least, how Goodra is going to be looking like. Alright, so I've set up on pvpoke.com a way to check against 5 different movesets here for Goodra. The first moveset is going to be the classic Aqua Tail and Power Whip moveset, and then the other 4 are going to be some options that I chose as kind of interesting picks just to see how they would simulate in the Open Great League meta. Right here we have the Thunder Punch attack, good for the flying types, good for the Skarmory matchup specifically. Then I chose Flamethrower, I chose Rock Slide, and Dragon Claw. It's just kind of interesting moves that we can test out, see how they perform, and see, if they would actually be an improvement over the classic Goodra moveset that we already have. So we take this, we take a look at it. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on here, right? I'd say the first thing that we should look at is just the overall wins. The current Goodra, this is the Zero Shield matchup. Actually looks like it performs the best here. 12 wins and 29 losses. That's actually a pretty bad record, all things considered. We can see that basically every other moveset, except maybe the Flamethrower one, is either the same if not worse than what we already have for Goodra. You can see that Thunder Punch actually does pick up the flyers, right? Mandibuzz, Mantine, Pelipper, but you do drop some of the matchups where maybe having that raw damage from Power Whip could be a little bit more helpful here. For the Flamethrower moveset as well, you can see that you do pick up the Seals, and you pick up actually Charjabug, which is kind of surprising that you lose to in the first place in the Zeros, but I guess that's just because Charjabug is a little bit spammy with those X-Scissors. But you lose a lot of, as I said, the matchups where you do want that raw damage from Power Whip, and it looks like, yeah, like Whiscash here, you don't have Power Whip obviously, you're throwing Aqua Tail instead. That could be a bit of a detriment, actually. Looking at Rock Slide, you pick up Charjabug, you pick up Mandibuzz, Mantine, Pelipper, and Venusaur. All you drop is Poliwrath, Sableye, Swampert, Vigoroth, and Shadow Whiscash. So far, I'd say that Rock Slide in the Zero Shield is looking like the best scenario for these moves. And then the final one with Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw seems like you kind of just miss out on a lot, at least in the Zero Shield matchup. Zero Shields are when having heavy-hitting moves can be very important, so it kind of makes sense that these moves are underperforming in a scenario where nukes are allowed to land, and all you have to throw are pretty cheap energy moves. Let's take a look at the One Shield matchup, see if this is any better for any of these movesets. We can see that actually all of these are an improvement actually over Power Whip. Looks like the Thunder Punch moveset is actually the best out of them. Being able to pick up not only Altaria, but Pelipper, Poliwrath, and Poliwrath Shadow. Skarmory is actually a huge addition for Flamethrower Goodra here. It looks like Flamethrower might be an interesting play. This could be bait dependent though. I feel like if you're going to be playing Flamethrower, it is a very slow charging move when you're running Dragon Breath, so it might be a little bit bait dependent, but at least you have that coverage to be able to threaten it. You're going to threaten shields, and you're going to make it so Skarmory is not going to be quite as hard a counter if it did happen to get Flamethrower. Altaria is also something that you just straight up win with Rock Slide, which makes sense. You have super effective damage rather than only having resisted moves with Water and Grass coverage like we have now. And then Dragon Claw not only picks up Altaria, but it also picks up Trevenant, because like a lot of these movesets, you don't really have good coverage into Trevenant with most of these. But with Dragon Claw, you have a cheap enough move that you can outpace Trevenant, and you can also land a pretty strong neutral attack against it. So the ones aren't anything too interesting. How about the Two Shield matchup? Once again, pretty similar across the board, right? Almost an improvement across the board, if not just kind of the same, except Dragon Claw is actually worse here in the Two Shields. Mandibuzz and Skarmory get picked up for Thunder Punch, makes sense. The Flyers are going to be Pokemon that you definitely want to have that kind of coverage for. Picking up Skarmory is so nice to see. Skarmory is everywhere. It's going to be the premier Dragon-type counter in the meta. You drop Carbink, but you still have to play with Aqua Tail, so I wouldn't say that's a big problem. Then Goodra with Flamethrower somehow also picks up Mandibuzz. That's kind of interesting. You pick up Reggie, and this is a hard win, because Reggie, I'm assuming this is double baiting twice with Aqua Tail, but if you do that, Reggie won't even land a charge move on you. So you'll come out of this matchup with a ton of health, ready to throw against whatever the next Pokemon is to come in. Registeel's not super common now though, so not the biggest win in the world, but the fact that you win Skarmory, again, probably bait dependent win, but the fact that you do nonetheless that's kind of crazy. This could be an interesting addition. Flamethrower Goodra. Maybe it's kind of cool. And going down to the Rock Slide Goodra, you can see it picks up Mandibuzz, like the other two that we just talked about. but you lose out on Carbink. That's about all that changes here in the 2-shield matchup. It looks like, for the most part, the Rock Slide doesn't really impact this too much. You're probably still throwing Aqua Tails in a lot of these matchups. And then the final one, you actually just straight up lose to Carbink because you have the Dragon-type coverage. Obviously, it's not going to help you against the Fairy-type Pokemon, especially when you're sacrificing your Grass-type move for it. So it seems like, overall, all these movesets are going to be side grades at best. Thunder Punch and Flamethrower, in my opinion, look the most interesting, but Rock Slide could have some play. Dragon Claw would probably not be that big of a change. I honestly don't even know if you'd run it if Dragon Claw was the moveset they'd give you. But it's an interesting option. It's an interesting Pokemon that has so many options, so we'll have to see what Niantic actually chooses to add for Goodra. Now, I wish I could do these simulations here for Hisuian Goodra, but unfortunately it's not on PvPoke just yet, so we'll have to instead just kind of think about it ourselves. If we want to take a look at the stats of Hisuian Goodra, though, we can do that right now. Yeah, so this is a little bit scuffed, I'm sorry about that. This is just a PvP IV calculator here, so we can see what it would look like. It looks like it has around 114 attack, 136 defense, and 101 HP. That's pretty bulky. Think about like a Lowland Sandslash, that's kind of the range that it's in. It's not super squishy, it's not super bulky, but it's bulky enough that it can probably tank its way through some matchups. And this is a Dragon and Steel-type Pokemon, as I said. So I feel like with these stats, if it has the right moveset, we might actually be seeing Hisuian Goodra in the Open Great League. And this isn't actually the only Pokemon that's kind of interesting with the Hisuian Goodra line. Sliggoo, actually, is going to be even more interesting. Check this out. It's actually bulkier than Goodra. This is kind of nearing Gligar Whiscash levels of bulk. 111 attack, 134 defense, 106 HP. This is so cool to see. If Goodra isn't super viable, maybe the Hisuian Sliggoo could be. You know, we can actually look at the movesets of Sliggoo if we want to right now, just to see what we might be in for here. Hisuian Sliggoo, aside from just looking incredibly cute here in its shell, actually looks like it has a pretty interesting moveset. So if we go down here, right, pretty similar stuff to what regular Goodra and Hisuian Goodra both have. You know, we see the Dragon Breath, we see it does have a lot of coverage moves as well. You know, ground type moves, water type moves everywhere. Then you scroll down a little bit of ice type coverage, Dragon, Electric. Seeing like Thunderbolt here, that could be an interesting moveset. Does it have Body Slam? I'm not seeing Body Slam though. Looks like it might not have any super cheap moves. No, it does have Body Slam, never mind. Okay, so you could have Dragon Breath, Body Slam, and then maybe something like Thunderbolt, maybe Ice Beam, maybe, you know, Sludge Bomb, or even Iron Head, I guess, right, as the Steel-type Pokemon. So this could be very interesting coverage here for Hisuian Sliggoo. It has a lot of interesting options. Rock Tomb as well, we didn't even talk about that. We saw how well Rock Slide could perform on regular Goodra. Maybe Rock-type coverage on a Steel-type Pokemon could be kind of cool to look into as well. But until we really know more about what Goodra is going to be getting in this community day, it's going to be kind of just more guesswork here. If they give it a good moveset, Goodra could have the potential to shake up the meta before Worlds coming in August. This community day is actually happening during NAIC, so it's not going to be eligible for the final tournament of the season, at least the final tournament before Worlds, but this will be an eligible Pokemon for Worlds with the new moveset that it will have. And Hisuian Goodra, we'll have to see, but I have my hopes that maybe it could do something. Alright, thank you all so much for watching this video. I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/itzaxon if you want to see some PvP content live. When the new season comes out, make sure to watch me. I'm going to be trying my best to climb early in the season and showcase the new moveset updates. Alright, take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.